As Han Li heard the name of the skill, his heart involuntarily shuddered. What happened next left an everlasting impression on him. It reminded him that there were still a lot of things in this world that were unknown. As Dr. Mo roared, the 7 sinister blades embedded in his body started to tremble. A buzzing sound was emitted from the demonic heads of the blades, getting louder and more acute by the second as if they were coming to life. As Dr. Mo witnessed the sinister blades vibrating, he mumbled something fervently. Han Li could not catch what he said, but he knew that it could not be anything good. Dr. Mo stood up, circled around the room, and finally stamped his foot in anger. He reluctantly raised his index finger and stuffed it into the mouth of one of the demonic heads. An incredible and inconceivable thing happened. That demonic head that was supposedly dead actually opened its mouth and chomped down on Dr. Mo's index finger, as if it was enjoying some heavenly delicacy. Dr. Mo's body slightly shuddered, as if he was forcibly suppressing the intense pain. Because of the black fog that was obscuring his features, Han Li could not see Dr. Mo's expression, but he guessed that surely it would be hideous. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the hunger of the demonic head was finally sated. Satisfied, it opened its mouth to release the finger while the buzzing sound started to abate. Next, Dr. Mo began to feed each of the demonic heads in succession before unwillingly withdrawing his finger. After completing this, Dr. Mo resumed the lotus hand gesture from before, mumbling the spell's incantation and shouting out, 7 ghosts devouring the soul, again. This time, the 7 sinister blades did not start vibrating. Strangely enough, it seemed that nothing inconceivable was going to happen. However, the eyes of the demonic heads all shot open at the same instant. Revealing pairs of blood-red eyeballs, together with their mouths that were stretched wide open, they appeared to be trying, in futility, to suck something from the air. The ghostly mist on Dr. Mo's face began to convulse and expand, as if it could sense the danger of an imminent threat. The movements of the tentacles got increasingly intensive and violent, but to no avail. 7 extremely fine lines of black threads appeared on the top of the ghostly mist, weaving beautiful arcs in the air. Following an unseen energy, the lines of black thread accurately seeked out and were devoured by the mouths of the demonic heads that appeared to be eagerly waiting. Han Li stared in shocked silence. All that transpired occurred right in front of him, so the details of every action by the ghostly mist and demonic heads, however minute, were deeply engraved in his mind. He was so close that when the mouths of the demonic head was stretched open, he could even see their teeth clearly. It was the first time that Han Li had such close proximity contact with the mysterious energies from another plane of existence. He was awed and stunned by the feeling. The demonic heads of the strange sinister blades as well as the ghostly mist on Dr. Mo's face emanated out a heavy demonic air. This phenomenon could not be explained by common sense. In the past, Han Li had never believed in matters of the supernatural. If it were not for him personally experiencing this today, he would absolutely never have believed in it. Yet how could Han Li not be unnerved? Elements of stories from myths and legends were actually happening in front of his very own eyes. At this moment, the state of Han Li's mind was in turmoil. Knowing that he was the target, Han Li was unsure of how should he react in the face of this extremely bizarre, inhumane power. Gradually, the ghostly mist on Dr. Mo's face slowly started to dissipate. The volume of the mist visibly thinned as the demonic heads devoured it, leaving behind a final layer of darkness and resulting in a faint shadow that clinged onto Dr. Mo's face. As the mist faded, the facial features of Dr. Mo slowly began to be visible, but the moment Han Li saw the face of Dr. Mo, he was thunderstruck, gawking like a retard. There was too many things that left him astonished today. However, all the things that had happened before were diminished by what he saw now. The exposed facial features belonged to a man about 30 years old in the prime of his life. If one observed for a longer period of time, he or she could tell unquestionably that this was Dr. Mo. He had managed to recover at least a few decades of his vitality. A face with a trace of heroic air, eyes that belied with dazzling charm, and a cold smile on his lips. No matter how you look at it, it was a face full of charisma, the face of an extremely handsome man. Deeply alluring and bewitching, it was a face destined to be a lady killer. Regardless of young virgin girls or old sultry cougars, no females could defend against this sort of charm. At the slightest flick of his finger, as long as he desired it, there would certainly be females delivering themselves to his embrace, unable to extricate themselves from the river of love and obsession. After witnessing Dr. Mo's face, Han Li actually felt like there was someone grinding his heartstrings, smashing his heart to pieces. It appeared that this pretty boy countenance was greatly capable of arousing jealousy in other males. As the last remnants of the ghostly mist was devoured by the demonic heads, Han Li suddenly remembered that Dr. Mo had told him before that he was only 30 years of age. It was only because of an accident during the recovery of a grievous injury which drained away his vitality did he become old and decrepit. From the looks of it, at the very least up to this point, Dr. Mo did not lie to him. This should be Dr. Mo's original face, it was just that the methods Dr. Mo used to restore his looks was too mysterious and unfathomable. At this moment, Han Li realized that alongside Dr. Mo's features regaining their youthful look, his body, and even his hair all underwent miraculous transformations. That jet black hair, that sturdy body, without a shadow of a doubt it was certain that the physical energy of Dr. Mo had been rejuvenated to the pinnacle stage of his youth. But since Dr. Mo had a way to recover his vitality, why would he still go all out to capture me? Han Li questioned himself. Regarding this, Han Li had his suspicions. After he recovered from the shock, he realized that he was still in immense danger. Neurons started firing rapidly in his brain, repeatedly analyzing everything and hoping to find a path of escape. From Han Li's perspective, it appeared that Dr. Mo had been struck dumb. Dr. Mo was just standing there in silence. After some time had passed, he finally raised his hand. Using an expression that was akin to looking at a precious newborn baby, Dr. Mo attentively studied his new shiny and velvety skin. After examining himself, he slowly closed his eyes, propping his chin against both of his palms and gently caressing it as if he were enjoying the long bygone feeling of youth. Looking at the narcissism that clouded Dr. Mo's features, Han Li felt like vomiting. He could not grasp what Dr. Mo was feeling right now, that intoxicating feeling of recovered vitality. "Old man Mo, looks like you have fully regained your vitality, let me congratulate you first. It seems that you no longer require Disciple's help, so could you possibly let Disciple off the hook? No matter what issues you have in the future, your Disciple would help you without question." Han Li was running out of patience. Up to now, he was still unsure of what methods Dr. Mo was going to utilize to deal with him. Han Li pretended to be ignorant and questioned Dr. Mo, hoping to know his fate before making any decisions. "Han Li, you are really flexible, knowing when to make compromises and concessions. However, letting you go? Do you think it's even possible?" Dr. Mo sneered. Han Li was shocked at the sound of Dr. Mo's voice. When Dr. Mo spoke, his voice contained faint traces of charisma, anyone who listened a sense of attraction and contentment. Compared to his previously bitter and insipid voice, this was totally different. It appeared that in comparison to his current looks, the beauty of his voice was not any worse off. Surprisingly, this was the first time Dr. Mo ever called Han Li by his name. Although it does not mean anything much, it allowed Han Li to feel slightly appreciated as it was much better than being called "little brat" every single time. On the surface, one could not really sense any imperfections from the current Dr. Mo. Every single one of his movements was graceful beyond comparison. A handsome man indeed, there was no trace of the senile old geezer from back then. Han Li was sure that back in his youth, Dr. Mo relied on that face of his to dazzle countless females. "So what on earth do you intend to do to me? Just tell me directly." Han Li was not a female and thus he was not affected by Dr. Mo's handsome face. Furthermore, Han Li could tell from the previous conversation that Dr. Mo seemed to have no intentions of sparing him, and as such, there was no need for Han Li to leave him with any pretense of cordiality. "What do I intend to do? Ha ha ha." Dr. Mo leisurely stretched his recently revitalized body, coldly smiling without any intent to answer Han Li while taking out another unknown object. The unknown object was revealed to be a small holding pouch made from extremely fine silk. The glow reflected off of the silk was extremely radiant, just like the blazing flames of a phoenix. It was extremely eye-catching. Furthermore, the embroidery was exceptionally exquisite. One could certainly tell that this was no ordinary object. What could this small holding pouch contain? Could it be another bizarre artifact just like the sinister blades from before? Asking himself these questions, Han Li felt curiosity grow within his heart. Dr. Mo cut Han Li's silent speculations short by quickly opening the pouch of holding. Following this, he cautiously drew out a rumpled piece of yellow paper. Han Li was somewhat disappointed. However, he knew that the more ordinary-looking an item is, the more difficult would it be for him to anticipate its uses. Caution arose in his heart as he became extremely focused. Thinking back to the incomprehensible events that happened earlier and seeing this seemingly ordinary piece of yellow paper, Han Li was sure that there were bound to be countless enigmatic mysteries behind it. Dr. Mo gently held the piece of wrinkled paper between two of his fingers, carefully smoothing it with a serious demeanor. Han Li was now able to see that the piece of paper was not large, about the size of a palm and yellowish with a hint of mold, giving the appearance that this talisman had been created many years ago. The most noticeable thing was that the piece of paper was shining with a silvery light, materializing silvery wisps of lines in the air. The lines slowly formed into many strange symbols in the air. Han Li had absolutely no knowledge of these foreign symbols. The moment he saw them, however, his heart started to feel as if there were an unfathomable and mysterious energy pulsing within the floating symbols. Even the chi he obtained from the eternal spring arts was moving in his body erratically as if it sensed immense danger, leaving Han Li stupefied. Sensing that something was wrong, Han Li quickly focused all his attention on the strange symbols, hoping to understand the mysteries behind them. The symbols twisted here and curved there, zigzagging around the air, yet there seemed to be something miraculous hidden within the strangely shaped symbols that he was unable to grasp. It was a pity that there was insufficient time for him to figure them out. In this instance, Dr. Mo arrived in front of Han Li. When he saw Han Li concentrating exclusively on the yellow paper in his hand almost to the point of being obsessed, a slight hint of mercy involuntarily flashed in his eyes. He gently lowered his head, moved his lips close to Han Li's ears and slowly said in an extremely low-pitched voice, "Don't blame me, Han Li, I am also left with no choice, so you best willingly submit to your fate and await reincarnation. I am going to take over your shell of a body now." "What did you just say? What is the meaning of this?" Han Li was shocked awake by Dr. Mo's words. He was so terrified by them to the point where his soul almost scattered and flew out of his body. He could sense that a fate worse than death will happen to him momentarily. Han Li no longer cared about the threat of the giant fellow behind him and fiercely struggled for his life. Hidden within his clothes, he still had a few items that may proved helpful in creating a distraction, thereby giving him a path of escape. Iron Slave, suppress him fully, don't even give him the chance to flail about. Dr. Mo's orders destroyed his last chance for freedom. Two gigantic palms, akin to small mountains, were securely pressing him down, not giving him a chance to move. Rivulets of sweat flowed down Han Li's face all the way down to the ground. He opened his eyes wide, gritted his teeth and listened to Dr. Mo's incomprehensible muttering. Once Dr. Mo began chanting, the piece of yellow paper, wedged between Dr. Mo's finger, started to flutter intensively at the sound of the spell incantation despite the lack of wind. Meanwhile, the silver symbols in the air started to shine with a mysterious silvery glow. Even though Han Li's movements were sealed, he was still clear-headed. He understood that the mysterious silvery glow signified that Dr. Mo was about to make his move. Dr. Mo looked solemnly at the talisman, and when the last of the symbols glowed with that mysterious silvery light, he roared in delight. Using various special methods, he waved the yellow paper wildly in the air, writing the word for seal. After the word seal was completed, a thunderclap noise rumbled out. At the same time, the talisman was pressed firmly onto Han Li's forehead, staunchly sticking there. As the talisman came into contact with his forehead, Han Li lost control of his bodily functions. He couldn't even blink. Despite this, he was still able to see with his eyes and hear with his ears. He was currently the same as a normal human, unable to circulate his internal energy, akin to a walking zombie. Walking zombie refers to a person who is unable to cultivate internal energy. In other words, a regular mortal. This type of feeling was totally different from that of his acupoints being sealed. After one's acupoints are sealed, although one could not move, they are still able to feel numbness and itchiness. The current Han Li, however, was not able to feel anything. Waves of terror assaulted Han Li. He did not know how Dr. Mo was going to control his body and steal his identity. Was this considered a successful attempt? Don't rush, your body should still be able to sustain this state for a little while longer. Dr. Mo muttered, although Han Li was unsure about whether he was talking to Han Li or to himself. You truly are quite cunning, said Dr. Mo. If you were left to your own devices, even I would have some difficulty dealing with you." Dr. Mo spoke in a calm and unhurried tone as he lifted Han Li and carried him outside of the house. It was still very hot outside, which made Han Li realize that although he thought he had been in the house for a long time, the events had lasted shorter than he expected. Dr. Mo continued to effortlessly carry Han Li as if he were a weightless object, walking at a leisure pace until he passed the medicine garden and came upon a remote cliffside. The silent giant continued to follow Dr. Mo's footsteps, refusing to leave his side almost as if he were his shadow. Through his own eyes, Han Li was able to see that there was more to the cliff than met the eyes. Upon closer inspection, he realized that carved into the cliff was a stone room he had never seen before. This room was similar to the stone room Han Li had cultivated in before, but this stone room was covered with a layer of limewash. From its rough appearance, Han Li judged that the room was constructed recently. He was certain that he would be able to smell the pungent smell from the limewash. Afraid that somebody might come along and disrupt his plan, Dr. Mo ordered the giant, iron slave, stay outside and stand guard. If you see anyone near the house, kill on sight. He then easily opened the door and stepped inside, closing the door behind him. His familiarity with the layout of the room suggested that Dr. Mo built this place himself. Han Li assumed that with the door tightly shut and closed windows, the room would be pitch black, but contrary to his belief, the room was filled with candles of many different shapes and sizes that were brightly illuminating the room to the point where it seemed as bright as the outside daylight. The room left Han Li speechless, but even if he wanted to say something, he was unable to control his body. Since he could not control his body, Han Li had no choice but to examine the interior of the room. He noticed a strange pattern in the center of the room. It seemed to be made of some sort of powder, but Han Li was unable to get closer look. At the edge of the strange pattern were fist-sized pieces of jade that glowed in the candlelight. With a glance, it was obvious that each piece of jade was a rare and priceless item. If an expert on precious stones were to see such priceless treasures set on the ground, he would feel such an immense heartache that he would be unable to sleep for several nights. At this time, Han Li felt his body being roughly thrown by Dr. Mo. His body made a patonged sound as he crashed into the center of the pattern with his body facing upwards. Unable to move his body, he could only capable of staring at the ceiling. To say the least, Han Li was extremely anxious from being unable to anything in his current situation. The fact that he failed to see any of Dr. Mo's actions made him unable to calm down and heightened his fear. The only consolation he had was that he was not facing the ground, or else he would have been unable to even look at the ceiling. Poo poo poo. Sound of puffing. A string of strange sounds heightened Han Li's fear and confusion, but he soon realized that it was the sound of Dr. Mo blowing out several candles. Gradually, the room became dimmed. Han Li did not know the purpose of this action, but he did not have much time to ponder on its meaning since Dr. Mo suddenly opened his mouth and said, "The method you mentioned, will it really work?" "Well, I'm betting everything on it," said Dr. Mo in a cold tone that sounded out of place. This caused Han Li to be bewildered as he did not know if he was the one being spoken to. There were only two people in this room, him and Dr. Mo, so who else could he be talking to? Did Dr. Mo forget about the cursed yellow paper that prevented him from speaking? I guarantee it will work. After all, how could the 7 ghost technique that I passed on to you be fake? A new voice suddenly replied, seemingly out of nowhere. At this point Han Li was beyond being surprised at the sudden appearance of a new character, because all the strange things he experienced in the past few hours far exceeded the amount of strange things he heard in the past few years. Instead of being astonished, Han Li calmly deduced from the sound of the man's voice that he must be a young adult around the age of 20. Hang. What's the point if it ends up failing halfway? Hang is an exclamation, not the name of the mysterious man. Right afterwards, Dr. Mo released out a string of curses which caused no amount of shock to Han Li. This type of vulgarity was nothing special coming from Dr. Mo, but his sudden transformation into a pretty boy made his dirty words seem out of place, allowing Han Li to feel a hint of sardonic pleasure in his pitiful situation. If you suddenly pull a trick at the end and make me fall into your trap, who am I to turn to then? Not waiting for the young voice's reply, Dr. Mo continued on with a self-preserving tone, I don't want to hear your useless guarantees. I know you are already dead since I was the one who killed you. How could you not hold bitter hatred for me and try to look for any opportunity to gain revenge? Do you think you can deceive me? Quote. Not giving the other person any chance to refute him, Dr. Mo kept talking almost as if he were taking this chance to pour out all his pent-up thoughts and insecurities. The mysterious man did not react to Dr. Mo's spiel. As a result, the only audible sound within the penetrative silence of the stone room was Dr. Mo's breathing. Han Li couldn't help but break out into a cold sweat as he finally processed the fact that the mysterious young man was deceased. That would make him some sort of ghost, would it not? Also, from what Dr. Mo revealed in his tirade, it seemed that the weird technique he just used was learned from the man he had killed. The mysterious man finally replied angrily, "Well, what else do you want me to do? I already swore on my ancestors, my parents, my whole family, and even on my family name. Are you still not satisfied?" Hearing this, Han Li couldn't help but feel his heart jump a beat as he realized that the mysterious man was so perverse and demented that he would swear on so many of his family members just to gain Dr. Mo's trust. At first he felt a sense of connection as they both seemed to be in dire straits, but that feeling quickly disappeared from Han Li's mind. "You're right. You can't do anything to me right now since your body has been destroyed, leaving behind your soul. You can't even see the light of day, and what little strength you have left is useless against me," Dr. Mo said in a slow and deliberate manner in order to maintain his facade. "Yu Zhetong, I just want to remind you again that if anything happened to me, you won't be any better off. You know that your soul won't last long in its current state and that you depend on me to help you look for a new body. So if there is anything you want to say it now while there is still time. I will not be angry unless it turns out you failed to tell me some crucial knowledge," said Dr. Mo as he was unwilling to give up any attempts at trying to pry out hidden information from the mysterious youth. From these words, it becomes evident to Han Li that Dr. Mo was in fact very afraid of Yu Zhiyong doing something at the final moment that would cause his downfall and was looking for more reassurance that his plans have not been tampered with. In response to Dr. Mo's words, Yu Zhetong, who fully understood the risks involved with harming Dr. Mo, replied smoothly, "There is no point in me tampering with your plans, and if I do then may my family suffer heaven's retribution. Besides, after using the 7 soul-devouring technique, at the price of your fundamental essence, you would temporarily receive a certain amount of magic power, enabling to use a few simple spells, but your existence now is currently that of a soul. Once your fundamental essence is used up, are you sure you could still execute such a spell?" After Yu Zhetong swore a venomous oath against harming Dr. Mo, he prodded at his weaknesses and leaving no way for Dr. Mo to back out. Although Han Li wasn't religious, listening to their dialogue made Han Li pray silently to the heavens that Dr. Mo would give up his evil plans. It seems like a ridiculous thing to do, but it was the only thing he could do. "Okay, I will use what I trust and ignore what I don't. Since there are such great benefits, it is only natural that there would be some risks," said Dr. Mo after making up his mind. Hearing this, Yu Zhetong seemed quite happy and excitement appeared in his words. "See, that is the correct mindset. Think about it. You were originally a mere mortal without spiritual roots, unable to step onto the path of immortality. But if this plan becomes a success, that will no longer be the case. With your new body and powerful spiritual foundation, any large sect or clan would beg for you to join. Not only that, your body would be immune to sickness and death, allowing you to live 5 times as long as a normal mortal. Haha, then I will trust you on this matter. Do not worry, I, Mo Jiren, am a man of my words. What I say will most definitely be done. Once I am successful in this endeavor, I will immediately help you find a suitable body with a strong spiritual foundation. I promise you that I won't let you down, little brother Yu." After listening to Yu Zhetong's promises, Dr. Mo's initial worry was gone as he took up a kinder tone, addressing Yu Zhetong with close familiarity. "Then if that is the case, I thank Big Brother Mo. After your success, I will single-handedly teach you each and every one of the cultivation techniques I have in my possession," said the cunning Yu Zhetong. He knew he had successfully lured in Mo Jiren with his words. Han Li listened as the two shamelessly talked about using his body without asking for his opinions. Even though he realized that he wasn't able to do anything given his current situation, he couldn't help but feel annoyed at how they don't give him any face. Once Dr. Mo dispelled his doubts and made up his decision to follow through with the plan, he no longer delayed, immediately pulling out some golden needles and stabbed them into his Mishui acupuncture point located in the back of his head. He was immediately invigorated, his body filled with enough energy to perform the next step of his plan and increase his chances of success. He strode to where Han Li lay, sat him upright into a meditating position, and then proceeded to sit in front of Han Li with his arms crossed over his chest, tightly hugging his shoulders. Then, Dr. Mo executed a celestial technique. With a wave of his hand, a red beam of light shot out from his palms and hit the pattern that was laid out underneath Han Li, causing the jades placed around the perimeter of the diagram to glow. Dr. Mo proceeded to whisper the spell incantation that held an enchanting and bewildering effect, causing those who heard it to feel drowsy. As the chant continued, Han Li felt a deep sense of weariness, causing everything to become a blur as he slowly lost consciousness. Not good, thought Han Li, knowing fully well that this was the intended effect of the mysterious chant and that once he fell unconscious, his body would be possessed. Holding onto this thought, Han Li resisted the temptation to sleep. Thoughts of biting his tongue and pinching himself were quickly disregarded as he was not in control of his body, so in the end, no matter how hard he tried, he was unable to fight off the effects of the spell and fell to a deep slumber. Right before he fell unconscious, the last image he saw was the handsome face of Dr. Mo. At that moment, however, Dr. Mo looked more like an ugly devil than a handsome figure. The last words Han Li wanted to say to Dr. Mo was, "Your ugliness suits you." Within the endless darkness of his subconscious, Han Li dreamt a very strange dream. In his dream, he was a fist-sized globe of green light that was happy and free in his own little world. But not long after, a thumb-sized yellow globe carrying an evil intent suddenly invaded his dream. Upon seeing the green globe, the yellow ball of light aggressively charged at the green globe of light, suddenly revealing its mouth to bite down upon the green globe that was Han Li. Of course Han Li was not weak, and he also opened his mouth to retaliate. After just a few exchanges, Han Li easily ended the battle by swallowing the yellow globe of light. The victorious Han Li rejoiced in his victory, but soon enough another intruder entered his subconscious. This foreign entity was also a green globe of light that was many more times the size of Han Li, but it did not contain the same glow and luster of Han Li's globe of light. When the enemy saw Han Li's globe of light, it was shocked, hesitation appeared on its features. After Han Li experienced the amazing taste of devouring other globes of light, the sight of a new enemy did not cause Han Li to give much thought to his opponent's power as he charged right at his enemy with the intent of devouring him. The enemy, seeing Han Li's attack, reluctantly chose to charge forward and engage in battle. Even though the opponent was many times bigger than Han Li, its attacks were only slightly stronger than the yellow globe of light Han Li recently devoured. Upon realizing its disadvantage, the invader tried to turn and escape, but Han Li was unwilling to let it leave so easily and gave chase, biting at the fleeing invader. The invader was very tricky and slippery. Every time Han Li seemed to have caught it, the green globe would cut off the part that was caught and continue to flee. In the end, the invader managed to flee, but its body mass was 1/3 its original size. Although Han Li was reluctant to let his opponent go, there was nothing he could do about the matter and so decided to wait around for more enemies to invade so that he could also devour them. Sadly, no more globes of light came, and he continued to float around.